The thing to understand though is that we're not investing for something that went up in the past. We're investing for what could happen in the future. Whatever happened in the past doesn't make us any more money. Recently, I've been seeing more and more on YouTube and on blogs, people trying to beat my new 3-fund portfolio, and I needed to jump on here to stop the madness. If SMH has grown over 276% in the past 5 years, and SCHG has only grown 139% in the past 5 years, why wouldn't we swap those and just pick the better performing one? That's been the basis for why people are picking different funds to throw into their 3-fund portfolio and supposedly beat mine for the short term. But this is incredibly irresponsible and it's absolutely going to hurt people long term. So I hope that you aren't being swayed by any of this. Now, I was the first to come up with this new form 3-fund portfolio where I updated Jack Bogle's old school portfolio. And since about 3 years ago when I put out this theory, I've seen a lot of people adopt this here on YouTube. I even see some of you explaining it as if it's yours and using my exact lingo and my exact ETF choices, as if that's something new or something you came up with. And I'll let that slide, but come on, man. But honestly, I'm okay with these other YouTubers or other bloggers borrowing my 3-fund portfolio methodology, because I know no matter how the information gets out there, it's gonna help people. If you follow the way that I'm structuring my 3-fund portfolio, it's just the strongest and safest way to be able to do this. No matter how the information gets out there, at least more people are getting helped, and I think that this is gonna help empower people to take over their life financially, which was my goal in the first place. I started this channel to help people, and so the more people that get helped, the happier that I am. But this video is very important so that you don't get tricked. My name's Nolan Govea, my students call me Professor G, and I made this channel to make investing simplified. Okay, so in this video specifically, this guy means well. His problem is the same problem for pretty much anyone who's trying to beat my 3-fund portfolio. First of all, the title is Forget SCHD, VU, and QQQ. But then he kind of starts off the video saying, actually SCHD is one of the better ETFs, and I'd recommend that one for one part of my 3-fund portfolio. In pretty much any of these style videos, everybody seems to come to the same realization that SCHD or VYM are pretty much your best, just broad, sustainable, safer form of a dividend or value style ETF. But at the end of the day, what I want you to keep in mind is that my 3-fund strategy is not necessarily any exact ETFs. Like sometimes in the comment section, I see you guys say something like, I thought you liked VU, not SPLG. Well, you have to look at the underlying index. If the index is the exact same thing, then it doesn't really matter which ETF you choose. That's kind of up to you. My 3-fund strategy is a methodology or a strategy where it's actually 3 different categories, and within the category, you find the best ETFs that work in your mix for you personally. That's the whole point. If I came on here and told you, here's exactly the ETF that everybody should be invested in, that should definitely raise some red flags. I love a certain couple of ETFs and I talk a lot about them on this channel because I just tell you exactly what I honestly do. So let's start with the dividend or value category since we're already here. You need to understand that the reason that you're investing in the dividend category is not necessarily for the dividend itself, even though that does play a big part in it. It's more so to make sure that it's lower volatility, less volatile than something like the S&P 500 and obviously way less than something in a growth category. This is supposed to be the safest part of the portfolio. Other than cash that's off to the side, this should be the next safest thing. So on this one, you're not looking for something that is a good dividend ETF, but it also grows really high, but also it's very volatile so it can drop really low. That's defeating the whole purpose. So the best for this category that I've found is SCHD, and second best is VYM. The next section of the 3-fund portfolio that I really want to go over is really the most important thing, and it's really the one that's going to be the one that moves the needle the most in your entire portfolio, because this is the growth ETFs. But first, I want to thank and introduce the sponsor of this video, Delete Me. Did you know that your personal data is being sold online by data brokers? You have the right to stay private and protect your personal data. Delete Me is a hands-free subscription service that will remove your personal information that's being sold online. Right now, it's becoming all too common of this trend of data breaches, resulting in the loss of personal data control. 1/3 of the US population's background info is now public. Delete Me's privacy experts remove your personal information such as phone number, address, and other important information from hundreds of data brokers all year long. I really enjoy that customers can make custom removal requests. We all do a lot online, especially with banking or investing, and so it's just a smart move to have an extra layer of protection. Get 20% off Delete Me US consumer plans when you go down to the link down in my description, which is joindeleteme.com/professor, and enter code PROFESSOR at checkout. So like I said, this next section is actually the main point of this entire video. And this would be the highest risk, but possibly highest reward section. As I started the video with, if SMH has grown over 276% in the past 5 years, and SCHG has only grown 139% in the past 5 years, why wouldn't we swap those and add in the better performing one? In one of those recent videos where somebody was trying to beat my portfolio, they said to swap out QQQM for SMH. But those are totally different things, and let me show you why in a second. But if we're looking at just returns, yes, SMH, the semiconductor ETF, has done better and has astronomically grown in the last couple of years compared to that of a broad growth ETF. SMH is up over 63% in this 1 year alone, where SCHG is up almost 40% in this 1 year alone. The thing to understand though is that we're not investing for something that went up in the past. We're investing for what could happen in the future. Whatever happened in the past doesn't make us any more money. So SMH is a specialty sector that pretty much is only semiconductors and AI style companies. In the past couple years, AI has been all the rage, and it almost seems like there's too much hype and somewhat of a bubble forming there. What happened the last time we were in a bubble? For real estate in 2008, real estate crashed. For the internet or technology in the 2000s, for the dot-com bubble, that sector crashed. Looking at SMH here, you can see what you're invested in. It's literally 100% technology with nothing else in it. It's got over 71% of its entire portfolio tied up in its top 10 holdings. So this is not somewhat high risk, high reward. This is incredibly high risk. If any of those companies flatline even a bit, the whole fund will crash. Looking at SCHG, you can see that yes, they have a lot of technology with about 50%, but other than that, it's still spread out to different sectors, which spreads out your risk. The top 10 only account for 59% of the entire fund, so much more balanced. In this section, we're fine with a little bit more risk because we're hopefully going to get more reward, but we need to be smart. For a core position of one's portfolio, you would never want to be in just a specialty sector ETF, especially not one that's so new and untested like one in the semiconductor or AI space. So this section of the portfolio is higher risk, but also possibly higher reward, and I'd recommend that the bulk be in a broad growth ETF like QQQM or SCHG, but a small portion can go into something like SMH. So if you decided you wanted to go like 30% growth for your portfolio, maybe you do 25% SCHG and then 5% SMH. That would be much more smart. There will be a point in time where semiconductors and AI is just commonplace, and the market will just be so saturated with this technology, so the profits won't be as high. If the vast majority of your growth section of your portfolio is in this very special sector, your portfolio is just gonna stop growing and definitely not grow to as big as it could. Now the last part of the portfolio is for the market average, and this would be the foundational section. For this, you would just want something that's a solid cross section of the United States, and for that there's really only 2 indexes, which would be the total US stock market index with an ETF like VTI, or the S&P 500 with an ETF like VOO. In the video from before, where the title was Forget SCHD, VOO, and QQQ, the guy literally took exactly what I say about foundational ETFs in the foundational section. He just said instead of doing VOO, you should do SPLG. which if you look at both of them, they both track the S&P 500. They're the exact same thing. It's just that SPLG has a smaller share price and the fee is just a little bit smaller on that one too. I do really like SPLG. I just personally have invested in VU for the last 10 years or so, and so that's why I talk about it on this channel. VU is also an amazing fund, and anything from Vanguard is going to be great. So yes, in this section you can go with any ETF that tracks either the S&P 500 or the total US stock market. Here's my updated 3-fund portfolio so that you can figure out exactly what works best for you, and in this video I actually go over the proper allocations as to how much percentage you should have of each fund within your portfolio based on your age. Or watch this one to keep you going strong in your investing journey.